Good morning, good evening, good day, and welcome. Welcome to episode 5 of Africans Cough It Out Now. My name is Piwe Mwabe. I am a digital content creator, storyteller, and writer from South Africa. I'm also the founder of Bohlale Hub Africa, an online platform that amplifies the voices of Africans on the continent and is also on a mission to change the African narrative. Bohlale Hub Africa brings you Africans Cough It Out Now season 1, an online platform that connects Africans, engages, and finds solutions that impact some finds addresses some of the challenges that impact Africans on the continent. We are not affiliated to any political organization. We are affiliated to Africa and Africans. Welcome and thank you so much for joining. And as you join in, please do let us know where you are accessing the stream from. And if you battle to access the stream, please head over to our YouTube channel, which is Piwe Mwabe, as it appears on the screen. Today, we've got a very special guest all the way from the UK. She's going to be helping us unpack and discuss gender-based violence, strengthening the response. Welcome, Leonora. Thank you so much. Please just introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Piwa, thank you so much for inviting me on today. I'm really excited to engage in this conversation with you. Yes, as you mentioned, I was born in the UK. I grew up all over the place, so I kind of view myself actually more as a global citizen. I came to South Africa in 2005, so I've been here actually longer than I've been anywhere else in my life. So I guess in that way, I feel South African. And I came here originally to do some work with the HIV/AIDS pandemic at that time. And then I moved into the youth sector, and then from there into founding a women's rights organization, I guess is how we see ourselves, called Kwanele, which started last year.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Gender-based violence is a widespread problem that impacts every aspect of life. Addressing gender-based violence is complex and requires a multifaceted response and commitment from every stakeholder. Let's just get right into it. So, Leonora, like you said, you are a founder of this organization that is addressing gender-based violence, right? So, I just wanted to know, what are some of the causes of GBV?
So yeah, that's isn't that the big question? It's so
Very big.
interesting. I know, yeah, and it's interesting actually within the South African context because I think South Africa as a whole is a very violent country generally, and so where does I often discuss like with colleagues of mine where does GBV fit within that? But I think if you are to look at it right down to the bottom, patriarchy plays a huge role within South Africa as to the causes of gender-based violence, and it's still a hugely patriarchal society. And I think if you look at countries that have the combination of violence and patriarchy, it's like the perfect breeding ground for high levels of gender-based violence.
Oh wow, that's so true, right? Patriarchy is one of the causes. That's what I was also reading about, and also I also believe when you also understand some history of South Africa, I think it also adds on to the issue. So what I also see is that when addressing gender-based violence, we need to address other underlying issues that come with this issue, because it just doesn't come alone. There's poverty, there's the patriarchy element to gender-based violence. There's just so much that comes with gender-based violence. I think that's why it's a difficult and complex subject to try and respond to. Do you get what I mean? Please tell us what do you do at Kwanele? What exactly do you do at Kwanele, and the role it's playing in the community in addressing gender-based violence?
So like I said, I set up Kwanele last year after we actually lost a family member to gender-based violence in Cape Town. So a member of my husband's family was murdered, and she was 9 months pregnant at the time. And what for me, coming from overseas, I think what then started this journey was the fact that it wasn't necessarily the act itself, but the fact that it was so normalized within South African society that her story wasn't newsworthy and it was never spoken about. And I think for me, that was what triggered this journey. And so what we did is we're actually a tech-based company. So we looked at how to make our core purpose is to look at how to increase reporting and conviction rates. Um, and so how to use technology and to increase reporting rates for gender-based violence. So we spent last year doing a lot of research on what technology is available internationally and nationally, and then also doing research at grassroots levels with women who are survivors of gender-based violence, looking at their like how they interacted with the systems, why they didn't report, if they did report, how was their experience of reporting, and if they had technology, what would it look like to make it feel like a safe space for them to report. And so from that, we are building the Kwanele app, which is about 2-3 weeks away from pilot. And it's a tool that we are looking, hopefully, going to help increase reporting rates for gender-based violence within South Africa. I don't know, would you like me to talk you through the app and what it looks like?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
I love what you mentioned about you want to increase reporting, right? Because most incidents of GBV are not reported, right? And here you are addressing the whole you want to increase reporting, which is something good. And you also want to create a safe space because in order for people, for survivors to report cases, they need to have a safe space, which is something that's like, very important and like amazing. And I'm just, I'm touched by the fact that you had to encounter it. In your family, somebody had to experience such heinous act, and you nobody wants to go through that, right? It's very, very painful, and that just makes me very sad about the whole issue of gender-based violence as a whole. We have women who we know personally, who we've lost to gender-based violence, and at the same time we have women who have suffered uh, because of such heinous acts and are afraid to come forth and report these cases, which leads me to my next question. So what are some of the effective strategies that can strengthen the responses, like in our communities?
Yeah, so again, I think that's quite a complex question. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because obviously gender-based violence at the moment is getting quite a lot of the media's attention related to the Sese murder in
Yes, yes, yes.
Umtata. And I was listening to Becky Clele yesterday talking about how the community has failed her. And I think that's a very, very basic approach to look at such a complex situation. But I think the community strategy needs to be like multi-layered because as you said at the beginning, it is such a complex issue. And I think you could start right at the basics with education, and going into communities and just educating, at very basic things, like even around like sexist speech and talking to young people about the way that they talk and the way they carry themselves and how all of those kind of factors end up long term contributing to this patriarchal society and misogyny and all of those kind of things. Stopping rape culture, victim blaming, and then I think you need to look at increasing women's participation at all levels, like in government, but not only at the high levels, but across all levels, so that the gender divide is still so large, and women are still very much looked at, as the ones that need to be in the kitchen or looking after the kids, and those attitudes also breed this kind of behavior. So I think upskilling women, putting money in to make sure that women are in places and seen to be in places and treated as equal, and yes, looking at how to get rid of the power dynamics within institutions. And then I think you need to look at addressing the needs of child survivors. I think that's a huge issue within the
Yes, it's
communities. I
true.
think, you talk about, I think the prevalence and the underreporting is even bigger than we anticipate it is. And then you get this cycle of violence. You get young people, men and women, that are brought up in violent situations. Male rape, I think, is a lot higher than people actually anticipate that it is, and making sure that those young survivors are given the services that they need so that the cycle of violence stops and doesn't continue. Because I think if you look at a lot of the people that commit rape or sexual assault or sexual abuse or, general assault, I think you'd find that the majority of them are survivors of very similar behavior. So, yeah, I think you need a multifaceted approach that covers top and bottom and everything in between it.
Oh wow. I love that you also mentioned the importance of education, educating our young boys and girls. You also mentioned the important part of the one aspect as well that we tend to overlook, which is rape culture, because rape culture is also in the music that we listen to. We don't want to really. I feel like we're not ready to have that conversation about how rape culture is also found in the music that young people listen to. We also need to the whole we also need to increase women's participation. I also feel like more men need to also participate because gender-based violence is a gender issue, and like you said, this is a multifaceted approach, multifaceted uh, it needs a multifaceted approach, right? It does not need just one way of addressing this issue. And that's why I also believe we need creative and innovative ways to address gender based violence. And that's leading me into my next question. Like the app that you have, coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's all about innovation. You're using online, you're leveraging on the digital age to try and fight this huge phenomena that is a global crisis. Please tell us about the app. Where can we access it? Like how do we use the app? Who can use the app?
Okay, so yes, we are hoping that will be live within the next few weeks. We put it on a data-free platform, which is why we delayed a little bit because the technology was a little more complex. So it's free and it's data-free to make it accessible to anyone that has an entry-level smartphone. It has a panic button, which is linked for the pilot to armed response because we want to collect data, which I think is key within everything to do with gender based violence. We need better data. So it's linked with armed response. With our pilot in Cape Town, we will also be linking it with one of the SAPS police stations to see how that integration works. So you shake your phone. It has a shake to activate functionality. It counts down from 10 just to make sure you're not running and you don't want like ADT chasing you down the promenade. And then if it gets to 0 and you haven't deactivated the panic, it then sends out a call similar to what Uber does to whichever driver is closest to you. They will then call just to make sure that you meant to activate a panic. And if you don't answer, they will dispatch to your location. Um, and then it will live an audio stream from the second that you activate the panic for about 2 minutes. That is geolocated and time stamped. And then it's stored with Amazon on the cloud so that if your phone gets taken or destroyed, you can still access all of that information. And it notifies a friend of your location. So that's all that happens in a situation of a crisis. And then the app
Mm.
itself has a few other functionalities. There's 24/7 live chat. So we have what we call our first responder, who is available 24/7 to help link up survivors of gender based violence with services that they need. So, whatever service it is at that time, depending on the path that they're on, they help them
Mm.
create that link. They also do a little bit of containment counseling, just because obviously, if we're the first point of contact, that's very important. We do also offer containment counseling virtually within the first 24 hours of an incident of violence or trauma. And they also, the live chat, the first responders link you up with our legal team. So we have so far 15 pro bono lawyers who work with us for free. and they do court preparation. They help people access protection orders, anything within the legal system associated with gender-based violence, they would do. And the first responder would link the survivor with whoever is taking on their case and basically upskill them to self-represent better within the legal system. If necessary, we do sometimes go to court with a survivor if needed, but obviously at the moment it depends on where we have lawyers. So in Johannesburg, we hopefully are actually going into court in the next 2 weeks, and also a case in Cape Town we're also representing in person in court. And then there's a vault, which I think, if anything sets us apart from the other apps that are online, it's our vault. So the vault is basically a safe space for people to upload their own evidence. So there's two parts of the vault. One is a case. So that's for people that have already opened a legal case, and there you can put all your information, like your investigating officer, whatever it is, the court, and that would help us access extra support for you. So if, for example, your protection order hasn't been served, we have all that information. We can then lean on whoever is in charge of that to make sure that they are serving it. You can also upload audio, visual, or narrative. So you can take photos of statements of J88s, anything like that. So if you get into court and the docket's been lost, you can say, well, hang on, I got a copy of everything. It's all timestamped and geolocated, so it's admissible in court. Also, if the alleged perpetrator comes back, you can use it to store any additional evidence. And then you have the story, which is for your repeat domestic violence survivors, who might not be ready to open a case yet, but they want to start building a story, and they can upload exactly the same audio, visual, narrative, photos, and start building evidence. So 10 years from now, when they are strong enough and they're ready, not that they're not strong enough before, but do you understand what I mean? When they are ready to take that jump and open a case, they have built evidence that hopefully then makes their case stronger. So that's the vault. And then the last function for the user is we have Find Services Near Me. So we are building a national database of services that are loosely connected to gender-based violence. So it will be your Thuthuzela centers, police stations, but also women's empowerment programs like drug rehabs, anything that's loosely linked somehow to gender-based violence. We've populated it into the database. So then wherever you are within South Africa, hopefully it'll tell you what services are near you. But obviously it's quite a big job in the rural areas to populate all of that data. So it's an ongoing process. And the app is live in the Google stores and the Play stores. You cannot access it without a membership code, because for the pilot program, we want to very specifically onboard people. We don't want to put it out there and it hasn't been properly tested. And then, for example, someone is in a very bad situation and then it doesn't serve them properly. So anyone that would like to be a part of our pilot is more than welcome to reach out to us on all our social media platforms, download it and say, yes, we'd like to be a part of the pilot. And then, of course, we're looking for as many people as possible to be a part of that pilot. It's not live on iOS yet, just because of some technical difficulties that we're just challenging with iOS, just to do with their registration process. But hopefully it will be live there as well within the next couple of weeks. And then we're probably piloting primarily in Cape Town and in Johannesburg, and then we will look at expanding after we've done proper testing of the app.
Oh, amazing. I'm on my phone and I see it right now. Here's the app on Google Play Store. I see it. I'm gonna get it, and I do recommend that we all go and support and try and pilot, increase the amount of data that they need to collect. I can see it. I also like the fact that this app does build evidence. It for those who are not ready to report any cases, they can just upload or take pictures and so forth. Is this app only available in English? Do we have, other languages in this app, or do we only find it in English?
So we wanted it to be in all languages, and that is the long-term goal. It's just that as a startup nonprofit, our budget was limited, and unfortunately,
Yes.
that was one of the things that has to wait for version 2, we also want to put in a few other
Oh,
features like accessibility for disability and all of that. So the goal is,
oh,
yes, that it will be in most of the languages, but
yes.
it's just once we can leverage for bigger funding, that'll be the first thing we put on.
Okay. No, I do recommend that we all go to our Play stores and access this app. We need to, and I think we also need to recommend it also in our, circles, because we do know that people, certain people are afraid of reporting cases because they are threatened or other reasons as well, but please do go to the Play Store. You'll find the app and recommend it to somebody who knows needs it, please. And this is my last question to you, Leonora. So since this platform is called Africans Cough It Out Now, what would you like to cough out to African leaders and worldwide regarding this important subject of gender-based violence?
So I think what I'd like to is say mostly is that this starts at home, and I think until the leadership, not only in South Africa, but everywhere, looks inside themselves and inside their families and inside their structures around them and starts challenging these kind of behaviors and things, the normalization of rape culture, misogyny, patriarchy, and then this isn't going to change. So I challenge government leadership, you know, we need diversity, we need equality, and that is the only way that we're going to start. And leadership, it starts with role models. So, be the leaders we need, be the role models we need. We need more women in government, we need more women in leadership. Like, take the challenge. What are you scared of? We're not that scary.
Oh my goodness, take the challenge. We're not that scary. We need more women in leadership. Like I always say, Africa is home. Africa is not a playground. We need to make it difficult for perpetrators to escape this system. That's my number one. Gender-based violence is a priority. Gender-based violence is preventable. That's something we need to also talk about. We need to explore other interventions that have the potential of being effective in everywhere in Africa, in worldwide. This is not just an issue that we experience in South Africa. Yes, South Africa is rated amongst the highest, but it's everywhere. Everywhere on this in the world we experience there is this crisis of gender based violence. Leonora, I thank you so much for your time. I thank you for the work that you're doing. I know whoever's going to watch the recording will be informed, and I do hope people do go and download the app or and spread the word. We their cases. So I thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I appreciate it so much. Um, Africa is home. Africa is not a playground. Please be on the lookout for our Youth Month series where we will be incorporating young people and some of the older generation to explore some very interesting issues in June. Please be on the lookout and thank you so much. Thank you to Leonora, although she's offline now. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.